The myth of Python, a detailed exploration of the serpent guardian of Delphi. In the shadowed depths of ancient Greek mythology, the tale of Python weaves a story of power, prophecy, and cosmic struggle. Python, often depicted as a monstrous, serpentine creature, was one of the oldest and most feared beings in Greek lore. With ties to the primordial deities and the sacred earth, Python's legacy is intertwined with the history of the Delphic oracle, one of the most revered prophetic sites in the ancient world. This detailed account delves deep into the myth of Python, exploring its origins, its symbolic significance, and the fateful clash with Apollo that would forever change the landscape of Greek religion and myth. Python's origins, a child of Gaia. Python's origins can be traced back to the dawn of creation. According to myth, Python was born from Gaia, the primordial earth goddess who personified the living, breathing earth itself. Python was not just any serpent. It was a chthonic, underworld creature, deeply connected to the ancient, pre-Olympian forces that governed the world before the rise of Zeus and the other Olympian gods. Python was said to dwell on the sacred slopes of Mount Parnassus, near the site that would later become the Oracle of Delphi. In the earliest versions of the myth, Delphi was a place of immense spiritual power, where the earth itself was believed to breathe forth prophetic vapors. Python acted as the guardian of this sacred site, protecting the oracle and the ancient knowledge contained within it. The creature's monstrous appearance and immense power made it a figure of fear and reverence. Python was often described as a massive, coiled serpent with scales that shimmered in the dim light of its cave. Its eyes were said to glow with an otherworldly fire, and its hiss could be heard echoing through the valleys and mountains surrounding Delphi. In some versions of the myth, Python was also associated with the ancient practice of necromancy and was believed to have the ability to communicate with the dead. This further cemented its role as a guardian of hidden, arcane knowledge. The rise of Apollo and the clash at Delphi. The most well-known story involving Python centers on its deadly encounter with Apollo, the Olympian god of the sun, music, healing, and prophecy. This tale is not just a story of a battle between a god and a monster. It is also a symbolic narrative that reflects the shifting religious and cultural landscape of ancient Greece. Apollo's conflict with Python began shortly after his birth. According to some versions of the myth, Python had been sent by Hera, the queen of the gods, to hunt down and kill the infant Apollo and his twin sister, Artemis. This was part of Hera's ongoing feud with Apollo's mother, Leto, who had been impregnated by Zeus. Python pursued Leto relentlessly, forcing her to wander across the land in search of a safe place to give birth. Eventually, Leto found refuge on the floating island of Delos, where she gave birth to Apollo and Artemis. Once he had reached adulthood, Apollo sought to avenge his mother and establish his dominance over the Delphic oracle, which was still under Python's control. Apollo traveled to Delphi and confronted Python in its lair. The battle that followed was fierce and destructive. Python, with its massive coils and venomous fangs, tried to crush and poison the young god. But Apollo, armed with his silver bow and golden arrows, gifts from his father, Zeus, fought back with divine skill and precision. After a prolonged struggle, Apollo finally struck Python with a fatal arrow, killing the beast and claiming victory. With Python's death, Apollo took control of the Delphic oracle, which became one of the most important centers of prophecy in the ancient world. Symbolism and cultural significance. The story of Apollo and Python is rich with symbolic meaning. On one level, It represents the triumph of the Olympian gods over the older, chthonic forces of the earth. Python, as a child of Gaia, embodied the ancient, untamed power of nature, while Apollo, as a god of light, order, and civilization, represented the new cosmic order established by Zeus and the Olympian gods. By defeating Python and taking control of the Delphic oracle, Apollo symbolically asserted the dominance of the Olympian pantheon over the older, earth-based religions of ancient Greece. This shift in spiritual authority is reflected in the fact that the oracle's priestess, who delivered prophetic messages from Apollo, was known as the Pythia, a title that honored the slain serpent. The myth also contains echoes of ancient fertility rituals and the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Some scholars believe that Python's role as a guardian of the Delphic oracle may have originally been connected to pre-Olympian cults that worshipped the earth goddess and celebrated the seasonal cycles of planting, harvest, and renewal. The legacy of Python. Even after its death, Python's legacy endured. The Pythian Games, one of the 4 great pan-Hellenic festivals of ancient Greece, alongside the Olympic, Nemean, and Isthmian Games, were held every 4 years at Delphi to commemorate Apollo's victory over the Serpent. These games featured athletic competitions, musical contests, and poetic performances, and attracted participants and spectators from across the Greek world. The image of Python also continued to influence later depictions of dragons and serpents in Western mythology. The idea of a heroic figure slaying a monstrous serpent or dragon can be seen in stories such as St. George and the Dragon, which may have been inspired, in part, by the ancient myth of Apollo and Python. In modern times, Python's name has become synonymous with serpents and dragons in popular culture, while the story of its battle with Apollo remains one of the most enduring and fascinating myths in the Greek tradition. Conclusion: the myth of Python is more than just a tale of gods and monsters. It is a story that reflects the deep spiritual and cultural currents of ancient Greece. Through its rich symbolism and timeless themes, the legend of Python continues to captivate and inspire audiences, reminding us of the enduring power of myth and the ancient truths it seeks to reveal.